people what these men did here.
To be or not to be, that is the question.
I'm not a violent man.
It's good to finally meet your friends.
Shall we not revenge?
Give me back my son!
Hello?
You all right?
Oh, thank you.
Hi.
I can see them, see?
There you go. I know. There are 1,700 people here to see you tonight.
1,700. Wow.
Yeah, just a small, intimate crowd.
Yes. Have you all had something to drink? That's good. Who's going to be the first to dance on a table?
Oh.
All right.
You're just encouraging them now. That's it.
I know. I'm trying to wind them up so I don't have to be the main event.
That's it.
Let's get naked.
Shall we start? Should we have a chat? Shall we do that? Why don't you take a seat and I will sit here? It's so exciting to have you here in London. Welcome along.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me here. It's so nice of you to all turn up and be so. Man, you're all so well dressed. I should have brought my penguin suit. But
When did you arrive, and what have you been doing since you got here?
I arrived on Thursday evening, and I'll tell you what I haven't done. I haven't slept.
Well, you're looking
It's
good
jet
on
lag,
it.
you know. It's phenomenal. But I did go for a walk. I walked up towards St. Paul's, and I saw a very curious traffic light with it was green, go. And it had the universal signs for male and female on it, you know, like two rings joined together with an X and an arrow and stuff like that. And it was only then that I realized I wasn't on a walk, I was on a woke. Yeah.
Very good indeed. Mel, first question for you. Off the top of your head, how many movies have you made?
I don't know. I honestly don't. I really don't know the number. But
How many do you think? 27. No, way more. Look, I even asked, I tried to work it out, counting, and every count I did was different. So I asked Google, and Google went, more than 67. It doesn't even know. You've been busy.
more than 67?
Yeah, it
I
said
would have
that.
thought like 50 or something.
Well, I think it includes everything from acting, producing, directing, and you even get a credit as a stuntman on Mad Max 2.
Oh, yeah. Well,
There you go.
well,
So there we go. Well done.
did.
Is it funny when you look back? Did you ever imagine when it all started, what, about 45 years ago? Did you ever imagine then
45 years
that
ago.
within the first couple of decades, you would be a Hollywood superstar doing huge movies, and that in 1985, you would be declared the sexiest man alive?
I tried to live up to that, but I fell way short. I mean, yeah, no, I just wanted to be a stage actor, you know, and I learned stagecraft. I was just in Australia doing theater, and it just happened to be the time when the film boom was on in the 70s, in the late 70s, so I got swept up in that.
Yeah. Well, you know, let's go back to the start. A lot of people traditionally used to think you were Australian. That's inaccurate, isn't it? Because you were born in New York.
Yeah, I'm a Yank. I'm a USA. Yeah. And I left there in '68 at the age of 12 and grew up there, and then entered into my artistic choice from, you know, the jumping off point was Sydney. I can't talk. See, this is what happens when you're awake for 72 hours. Yeah. I'll be a monosyllabic, drooling idiot in a minute. But hey, drink some more.
It's great that things took off, though. So you did all your studying in Sydney. She said acting became a thing there. And then, you were not one of these actors that had to wait on tables and had to really have a plan B, because things did happen quite quickly. Did you have a plan B?
Plan B. Oh, I had a plan KFC.
Did you?
Yeah. I served under the Colonel. Yeah. They threatened to rip my fingernails out, but I never divulged the secret 11 herbs and spices. I did do odd little jobs at drama school, like work in orange juice factories, and it was a horrible job, you know. I flooded the factory one day, you know. But when I finally started to get work I was fairly lucky because I took off like bee stings, and it just never stopped.
Yeah. Can you clear something up? Okay, so you went and you got Mad Max, first big movie, quite quickly, 1979, I think that was.
Yeah, 77.
77, okay. Did it come out in 79? Was that what it was?
It came out in 79.
Came out in 79. So you went along, but am I right in saying that you were never there to get the role of Mad Max?
No, I dropped a friend of mine off at the audition, and I went in with him, and I had to wait for him because he had to go somewhere else, and I needed to, so something to do with the car, that a bad car didn't work very well. But I just sat in the waiting room and waited while he did his thing. But I had about 3 nights earlier gotten into a fight with a rugby team, and I didn't win, all right? So I was a little bit beat up looking, you know, and my nose was over here and my eyes, you know. So it was like this girl at the desk said, "What happened to you?" So I was like making up all kinds of romantic stories, trying to see if I could get her to laugh. That's the first step, of course. But it was, they took Polaroids of me, and they said, "We need some freaks in this film." So they slapped it up on the board, and they said, "Come back when you heal up in a few weeks." And I did. I went in, and they said, "Yes, what do you want? Who are you?" And I pointed at the Polaroids, and they said, "Oh." And they said, "Yeah, go on and speak to the director." And he said, "Tell me a joke." I told him a joke, and he said, "Okay." He gave me the part right like that. It was very strange, because apparently he'd been through the whole auditioning process, but he just gave it to me.
Oh, wow.
It was a weird thing.
If only every audition was as easy as that.
Yeah, well, I'm not good at them.
Really?
No, it's terrible. I used to do very badly on auditions because, I don't know, I think it's, or maybe I was really good at them because, well, you know, I never do auditions with actors if I'm directing something. I don't make them.
Oh, don't you?
I don't make them read, because all you're going to find out is whether they can read or not, you know. So, you know, you just talk to them about the weather, and if you talk to someone for about 15 minutes, you'll generally get a pretty good idea whether they have the chops to pull it off or not. So that's about it. So at auditions, I always felt really uncomfortable having to read scenes, and you know, because it's out of context. You're sitting in a bare room in front of a camera with bad lighting, and you know, you have to cough it up. I suppose there's an art to that. Some people have perfected it. I never did. I never had to.
Yeah, I mean, that's because you got Mad Max just like that. And by the way, that was when you were 21. Mad Max came out. Is that right?
Yeah.
And so from that point on, you are no longer Mel Gibson, the wannabe actor. You are now Mel Gibson, movie star. That is pretty much been your life since then. Is it possible to live like Mel Gibson, who wasn't the Hollywood actor? Can you walk around?
Well, it didn't happen like that, like overnight. It was pretty quick, but well, it's a bit like, and nobody tells you this. You don't go to school to figure out what it is to lose your anonymity completely. And it's kind of like trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube, you know. Once it's gone, it's gone. So there's a little adjustment period you have to go through. But then you realize, when you start to count your blessings and realize, you know, how fortunate you are that you can't really complain about too much, and you just get on and do it, you know. And after you're bitter for a couple of years, you know, it's good.
Would you mind if I asked your first paycheck for Mad Max?
Oh gosh.
How much was that?
I never tell anybody how much I was paid, but
it's online.
It's online, is it? Then you tell me. Let's see if
am I right in saying, was it about $15,000?
No, it wasn't.
Wasn't it?
No.
That's wrong. Online's wrong.
No, it was $9,000.
What?
$9,000
Was that a big deal, though? Did you go, wow, I've got this money, and went out and bought something special to remember?
I'd been a student for 3 years, stretching $128 a month to eat and pay rent and clothe myself and go to school. And it was like a fortune. It was a fortune for me. So it's like, you know, really good. I ate a steak and because by the end, we used to buy there were me and 4 other guys in the house. There was a guy called Connolly, there was a guy called Bisley, and a guy called Reimers, and we lived in this house with no furniture where we slept on the floor. It was like homeless people. Sometimes people would just wander in and crawl into bed with you, you know, the no locks on the doors. I mean, it was like cats, you know. the New Zealanders next door were getting their cat stoned on marijuana. I mean, it was a real prime neighborhood.
Sounds great.
And so the last part of every month, you'd buy the big, giant family-sized can of Uncle Toby oatmeal. And that's kind of what you lived on for the last month.
Okay, so when that paycheck came in, it was woohoo, party time.
Oh, yeah. Lamb chops, beer and Skittles, everything. Yeah,
Amazing.
it's great, yeah.
So then, I know that you said that you don't like talking about salaries. However, there's another one online.
Yeah.
From Mad Max 1 at 9,000 to Mad Max 3, that went up a wee bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were a few extra zeros.
Well, yeah, it had gone out to... Did you ever hear that Tom Waits song where he sings, "I'm big in Japan"? You ever hear that one? I was big in Japan from Mad Max, so they made some money back from there. It became kind of a cult following thing and had moderate success in other territories. But, of course, then you have a little leverage. You can say, well, if I'm going to torture myself for you, maybe you should pay me a little more. It still wasn't a king's ransom, but it was better.
Yeah. See, the first few years, you delivered a lot of movies. You made a lot of movies to the point that after Mad Max 3, you took a couple of years off, which I guess, was that because you didn't want to burn out, or was it because you had something that you wanted to do for a couple of years?
Yeah, well, you get to the place, you're in your 20s, and you're presented with a lot of things and a lot of new games to play and a lot of people and money, and there's a lot of weird power games, and there's the studios over in California and all this kind of stuff, and it gets to be a little bit overwhelming while you try and figure out, firstly, who you are, because, in your 20s, you don't really have a sense of yourself yet. And then try and figure out what the game is. So I felt I needed to take a breather because I was a little overwhelmed by the whole thing. This tide was carrying me, and I wasn't in control of it. It was controlling me. So I just stopped. I bought a farm, and I grew organic vegetables, and I raised cattle, and I milked a cow, and the whole thing, And that lasted about a year and a half, and I thought, this is not a great business, and it's breaking my back. So
then you accepted Lethal Weapon.
Yeah. That was different because up to that point, they'd done a lot of those, the action movies with, guys that like specialists who kill people, the hero. But I never saw one of those ones depicted where the guy was actually very flawed. And I liked it because the man was crazy at the same time and suicidal. So I thought, well, that's a good twist on that theme,
Legend has it that you actually were offered Die Hard around the same time.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Well, that's right. Bruce and I were coming up around the same time, and they had. I think Bruce turned down Lethal Weapon and did Die Hard, and it just ended up that way. We ended up on the other thing,
Oh, that's fine. That's something. Well, I think Lethal Weapon was good. You got multiple sequels out of that. And which one was your favorite? 1, 2, 3, or 4?
I liked the first one.
Yeah.
It was just kind of pure. It's what it was. It was very of its era. It's such an '80s film, but in a way, it kind of broke the boundaries on a lot of stuff. Yeah.
I liked how your hair changed throughout each of the films.
Sure.
Sometimes it was like, is it going to be bigger or is it going to be neater? It was good. Yeah. Question that I think everyone in here would like to know. Lethal Weapon 5, will it ever happen? Or, like Murta, are you too old for that shit?
No, well, I am too old for that thing, but I think I can fake it. And the man who directed all the Lethal films, here I'm getting stupidly emotional all of a sudden, but he I worked with him on 6 films, and he passed away. So, and he did Maverick and The Conspiracy Theory and all the Lethal films, but he said to me, when he was doing the last script, and he was 90, and me and the stunt guy and a few other guys were saying, "Get back in the saddle, Dick. Go on, get back in the saddle." And he was a big guy, and he was like his voice like this, and he said, "Okay." So he was developing the screenplay, and And he got pretty far along with it. And he said to me one day, he said, "Listen, kid, if I kick the bucket, you'll do it." And I said, "Get the fuck out, shut up," you know. But he did indeed pass away. But he asked me to do it, and then I didn't say anything because I didn't want to be like, you know. But he said it to his wife, and he said it to the studio, and he said it to the producer, and so now I'm going to direct the fifth one with Braveheart.
Amazing. This is good. So, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
So-
nobody knows that. You guys heard it first, I think.
Wow. So, is Danny going to come back?
Of course.
Is Joe going to come back?
Oh, Pesci? I don't know. He's not in it. Maybe we'll find a way to hook him back in. I don't know. He's difficult.
Yeah.
No, because his name is Pesci, right? You got to actually catch this guy.
Yeah. But the two guys, the buddies are back, and that's the good thing.
Yeah, it's mainly about those guys.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, and they're not in their prime anymore. You know, as you can see, like white hair and Danny's like 75 now, I think. He's like,
Oh, it's brilliant. That's great news, isn't it? So pleased that you shared that. After Lethal Weapon, we kind of move into the 90s, right, which was insanely busy. I think you delivered at least one film every year of that decade. I mean, you must have been a workaholic. You must have just been non-stop. Few favorites, Ransom. Oh, I love Ransom.
yeah.
There was a little film set in Scotland. Can't quite remember what it was
Oh, yeah.
called. And then, of course, there was The Man Without a Face, which was your directorial debut.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it makes me wonder, at what stage does a successful actor go, do you know what? I want to start calling the shots.
I think subconsciously I kind of always wanted to do that. I wanted to tell the story. And I would always, as an actor, a lot of actors, they don't stick around the set when things going on. They go to the trailer or go off and find some other pursuit, play golf, something, I don't know. Because there used to be a lot of time between setups. There is not now. It's a different world. It's like, the last film I was on, they shot 16 pages a day, which is like insane. You do a half a script in 3 days, you know.
What was it traditionally?
Oh my God, you do a half the script in like, 6 weeks, you know, but 3 days. Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And my memory's not as good as it used to be, so it's really tricky. But I even forgot what you were.
No, we were talking about when you first decided to get into acting.
Oh, yes,
To directing,
into
rather.
directing, yeah. Well, I think I used to hang around the hub, and I'd always say, I think it was subconscious. I'd say to the director, I said, "What's that you're doing? Why are you doing that? What's that lens? Tell me about the lighting, this, track." So I learned about all the equipment and about the effect of the use of the equipment, and get inside the director's head and ask a million. I must have driven them crazy, but they were all very generous. And that was really my film school. And guys like Peter Weir and George Miller and Richard Donner and Franco Zeffirelli and everybody, you know, you just lined them up, and I drained them. I was just stealing all their tricks. They didn't realize it. But so I think subconsciously I always wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And it's frightening at first because, you know, you're going to get judged on it. It's your baby, and you're going to send it off to school, and people are going to throw Rotten Tomatoes at it, you know.
Well, especially when you do your first film and you put yourself in it, because as the director, you're also acting. So, I mean, double the workload.
It is, and it's very exhausting. It's mentally and physically exhausting, more than you think it is. And even when you're a young person, like I was relatively young when I did Braveheart. I wasn't yet 40, and it was, that really kicked my ass. It was like 6-7 days a week, and up early and get the shots and put all the stuff on with the, you know, and so it was, you know, by the end of a 105-day shoot, now there's a long shoot.
Yeah.
It was, I couldn't even talk anymore. The only thing I was good for was being in a rubber room with a straitjacket. I'm not kidding. It was like, people would ask me questions like, it was awful.
What kind of director are you? I mean, I presume when you make an epic film like the ones you've done, that you've got to be really meticulous and well planned.
I think I'm fun to work with. I think the people who our work with enjoy working with me, and I know I can't do it alone. That's for sure. So you have to pay everyone their due, and listen to everyone, because there are people with expertise that I just simply don't possess, and I depend on them. So it's really, I'm just, as Donner used to say, I'm just a traffic cop. You get a lot of talented people, and you pick and choose, and you judiciously take from whatever is offered and make the best of what you have.
Yeah. Well, it worked out all right, didn't it? Because that little film set in Scotland did quite well at the Oscars. 10 nominations, 5 wins, including Best Director and Best Picture for you, which, let's be honest, is not bad for a second film.
No, that's okay. And I got to take 2 of the guys home. I put them in a closet for a while, and then when I opened it, there were 3. Funny. One of them had a chip on his shoulder, literally.
Can we talk about the making of Braveheart, please?
Sure, yeah.
I mean, it's such an incredible film. I went to see it twice when it was released in Glasgow. Wow. Got a standing ovation every cinema you went to.
Wow.
Did you watch it with a Scottish audience? I mean, I know you went to the premiere.
I went to the premiere at Stirling Castle, and I was astounded that I got in the car from the hotel, and all the way from the hotel to the place where it was screening, there were people like 12 deep all along the roadside the whole way. I was like, what? I'd never seen anything like that.
It was a big event.
It was. I didn't realize how big it was, and how they took it. They really loved it, you know. And I was really pleased, of course, that they did. It was quite something, quite an undertaking. But it was 10 weeks of pre-production. Randall Wallace, a Scots-Irish American from Tennessee, was looking into his ancestry, and he thought, oh, there's a famous Wallace here. So he penned the script, and I read it, and I just kind of kept it in the back of my
Was
files.
it being sent to you to direct or to act?
No, to be in.
To be in.
Yeah. And I actually turned it down, and it was, I turned a lot of stuff down that I should have done.
What else did you turn
What
down?
I turned, Rain Man.
Okay.
Like to play the Dustin Hoffman part, right? And that and Gladiator I turned down. But I had some cool stuff. The other cool stuff, I did The Patriot. You can't do them all, you see, so you have to do The Patriot. Then you're so good.
Okay.
But it's like, yeah.
So you turned Braveheart down.
Yeah, I did. And then somebody was saying after I finished the job, what do you feel like doing? I said, yeah, I read a script, it was pretty good. And I explained the whole story to him, and he says, that sounds cool. And I'm like, yeah, it does. And I went and I dug the script up again, and I thought, you know, I've been thinking about it so much and creating images, because the way I described it to him had shots. It had like images in it. I said, then there's a low angle on the horse, and it's like, and the guy falls, you know, and I was telling this whole, he said, that sounds crazy. And, but of course that wasn't, you know, the shot list wasn't written in the script, just the story, which was a very well-written script, of course. But I realized then maybe I should call the shots and direct it, because I had such a clean vision on it.
Yeah.
And it had subconsciously gotten into my brain in dreams or something.
So then when the studios get involved, do they go, yeah, an epic in Scotland that you're directing? That sounds like, yeah, here's loads of money.
Yeah, really. They didn't. It was, you had to twist their arm a little bit. I mean, I had some cachet, and so that, and I was trying to put someone else in the film so I could direct it.
Was it someone well known that you were going to cast?
Yeah, but they said, no, we want you to be in it. And I said, and let me think about that. And I eventually did it, knowing that it's a huge workload. But I eventually did. Yeah. And so there you go. It was quite a. Yeah.
I actually can't imagine anyone else doing it now. 105 days on set. Now, I remember the summer of '95 being really hot. I can't remember what '94 was like, but whenever I watch Braveheart, I do go, it looks cold. It looks cold. You're in a vest top and a very ripped vest top or topless with a kilt.
Yeah.
Is it freezing? Freezing the whole time?
It was an odd summer because it was like June and July, but it was chilly. There was still snow on the mountains, and there was and it rained on and off every day, and you go from sunshine to like torrential rain. It was like...
The scene in the forest with William Wallace and his wife when they get their kit off, you can see their breath. It's that cold.
Did you say breath or breasts?
I think you could actually see both.
Right.
Yeah.
You can see the breath coming off her breasts.
It was like that.
Catherine, she was freezing. It's not all as romantic as it looks. I mean, it was uncomfortable.
Yeah. It was huge though, wasn't it? And I understand as well that when you make a film like that and you want to shoot it all in Scotland, it's not quite as easy because there wasn't as much shot there as we might have hoped.
Yeah. Well, the big shots were there. I mean, we were under the, at Fort William, and I think that's near Ben Nevis. Am I right?
Yeah.
My geography's all up.
Yeah.
You'd know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where we were, and it's beautiful there. I mean, they got a lovely valley and a great mountain, and they're just right for the anamorphic frame, by the way. If you shoot a film in the anamorphic, whoop, 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 that thing, it's like just everything fit in, and we were just the right distance from the mountain in the valley, and just worked on screen.
Yeah. But then you went over to Ireland for a lot of it as well.
Sure.
And here's the thing. You needed loads of extras because how many people were cast in this film, including extras?
Oh, God. A couple of thousand, I guess, yeah. So, yeah. And the other thing is, like, Scotland is not particularly horse-friendly. Like, there's a lot of potholes and rocks, and it's rugged, beautiful country, and you can get a horse in here and there, but Ireland is like, man, you can just open those things up.
Right.
Open the throttle up on some horses, and it was really
cool.
Talking
about the horses, am I right in saying that there were some animal cruelty companies that came forward and went, you can't do this to our horses? And
they came to chase me down in my office one day, and they had torches and pitchforks and everything. It was like, I killed it. And it was the RSPCA or Animal Humane something. And of course, I fronted them and I said, I didn't hurt any animals. She says, yes, you did. We saw it. We saw these horses. You were doing horrible things. And I said, no, that wasn't me and the stuntman made some fake horses. And they said, bullshit. And I said, no horse shit. I said, these things, we made steel skeletons. We put rubber carcasses and covered them with kind of like fake fur. And then we had them on air jacks on tracks that we could fire off. And the tracks did this, like that. And we fired them in from about 30 feet out, and a guy on the back, and you could do running doubles. You could flip them. You could drop out from under them, and it looked absolutely hideous. And it looked like we were doing the worst things to horses, but we were doing horrible things to dummies. But the humane people were dummies because, actually it was a compliment because they told me that it looked so real. They apologized after because I had to show them footage because I didn't have footage of it, but I did luckily a Make-A-Wish, for some kid that was sick, and I made a video for a kid telling her about the horses and stuff and how we did it. And so we were able to show them that, and then they were like, wow. So it was kind of a compliment that it worked. Yeah.
Everyone was really impressed with Braveheart. So much so, am I right in saying that Paul Newman rocked up on set one day?
Wow, yeah, he did. It was, we had everybody in costume one day, and I heard that there was kind of like one of his cancer camp things. I didn't know it was his, though. It was just, we heard that there was a place where they had kids, and they were sort of getting cancer, and they were getting well, and it was a camp where the kids would go. And I said to the guys one time, hey, let's just like skip lunch and go over there and talk to these kids in our costumes and stuff. And they said, okay. So we just got on a bus and went over there, and we talked to the kids, and they were like, wow, looking at our axes, and they were scared of us at first because we looked really fierce. But they really loved it. We had a great time that day. And afterwards, I realized it was like Paul Newman's camp for kids and stuff, and he came onto the set one night, just snuck up onto the set and sat down next to me, and I was like, whoa, because it kind of, I get tongue-tied too when I meet somebody that, like, he was a hero of mine. I was like, whoa, Paul Newman's here, what's he doing here? Like, in the middle of, nowhere, Trim Castle in Ireland someplace. So it was, he just stopped by to say thanks as we did the battering ram scene. So, it was cool to meet him. I saw him again after a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was cool. I mean, that scene as well is pretty iconic. The other one that we all know and love is ahead of the Battle of Stirling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The one that, as a director, I imagine that's quite a lot of work.
Yeah.
So you're on a horse. Mm-hmm. You've got all your extras and all your cast. You've got the big speech of the film.
No.
And you're not behind the camera where you can kind of check the shots.
No.
How easy is that whole scene to get done?
Well, there's like, we mostly did everyone's coverage first. And it was kind of like, all right. And I was always jumping in last because I was always trying to get it. And they said, well, and we had this British first AD, a fantastic first. He was historical. And he'd been at it since he was 15 years old. And he was already, he'd been in the game 50 years already. And his name was David Tomlinson. And he was a legend. And he hardly moved his mouth, and he couldn't move his neck at all. He was like a sergeant major, and he says, well, I think it's about time you jumped into the shot yourself, like that. And it was like, all right. So I jumped into the shot myself, and they just had 3 cameras. They had a line up and down with the horse, and I just had to basically stay near the line so I could stay in focus. And I just rode up and down and said it. But every time I'd yell, the horse really helped. Every time I'd yell, the horse was kind of skittish, and he'd take off. And it was like the whole time, everything I could do to hang on to him. So he gave the performance a kind of an anxious, kind of angry, like, I'm ready to go. I want to go. It was like, it sort of translated into my body language and into the speech, So that horse was the best acting teacher I ever had.
Do you, can we put you to the test here? How much of that speech do you remember?
Oh, God. I don't remember. I'm terrible at remembering. This day to that. It's an interesting speech because basically it's a kind of another version of, in a short way, of Shakespeare's, of Henry V, when he talks to the guys before Agincourt, about St. Crispian's Day. So it's that, you count all the days from this day to that, and I can't remember what the Shakespeare, I used to know the Shakespeare speech too.
Do you know the Braveheart one, though?
I don't.
I bet they do. I bet you do.
Somebody who does. Does anybody?
Yeah, you all know it?
Yeah.
Well, I think everyone knows the big line as well, don't they?
Right.
Yeah.
Alba Gabra, something like that. Yeah.
There we go.
There you go. No, I cannot remember it, honestly.
You can't?
From this day.
I'm being really annoying, and I'm just
something about so you can come back here and tell our enemy. You may take our lives, but you'll never take our freedom. It's like, yeah, it's like something like that.
Amazing. Scottish accent, right? Let's talk Scottish accent, because I feel like you've done a couple of films as a Scot now. You almost are an honorary Scot, really.
Yeah, there you go.
How? There's a rumor that Sean Connery might have been a contribution towards you perfecting the Scottish accent.
I love Sean. He was the best, man. He was a cranky old guy. That I met him at a dinner party, and it was being thrown by a Hungarian, and his wife had made goulash, and you haven't lived until you've heard Sean Connery utter the word goulash. So I was killing myself, And, I said, "Do you like goulash?" "Yeah, I love goulash." "I always have bread rolls with my goulash." Great guy. Apparently, get pretty angry on the golf course. We had the same caddy, and the caddy told me he'd have to run into the weeds with the rattlesnakes to retrieve putters and 9-irons and all sorts of stuff. And if Sean missed a shot, he'd be railing, "You did this to me," But he was great.
Yeah. Back to Braveheart. It's quite gory in parts, isn't it? I mean, there's no denying that. I have to be honest. I do that a lot. because, and I listen, but I don't want to always see, because in my head it's real, because it's very well done. Am I right in saying that the studio, when they saw it, were like, yeah, it's maybe a little bit too much. You might have to tone it back a bit and maybe cut some out.
Yeah, we did, and I know in Britain I had to cut one shot so they could take it from like 17 down to a M15 or some. I forgot what the ratings
So
are
an
here.
18 to a 15.
Yeah, and it was the shot with the guy getting his throat cut, and so in the version over here we just show it from the back.
So is there apparently there's an hour of extra footage somewhere.
There is, yeah.
Is there a director's cut coming?
Oh man, that would be mammoth. And you know, did anyone here ever watch the Apocalypse Now Redux? Okay, he dropped the right things on the floor, didn't he? Right? And that's the way I kind of feel about Braveheart. It's like there is an hour of other cool stuff, but if you put it back into the film wouldn't be as good because it would be too full. I mean, right up to the last minute, it was 3 hours and 15 minutes, and I was ripping my hair out, and I got a note from the studio head, Sherry Lansing, and it was a good note. It was a general note. And she said, I don't know how to be specific or put it into words, she said, but it's kind of like you're letting the audience get ahead of you a little bit. You're kind of spoon-feeding them. And I was like, and I said to the editor, what the hell is she talking about? You know, and then we both slept on it, and the next day we called each other and said, she's right. And it enabled us to cut a further 28 minutes out. Oh, so wow. We lifted another 28 minutes when we thought there was nothing else to go. And it made the film a lot better. So, you know, she was very astute. Yeah. That was a great note.
Right. What was the 28 minutes that got taken out?
Oh my God. We reshuffled a whole bunch of things, and it just, I can't even tell you, it was so complicated that we sort of restructured one whole thing into a montage, and we did this, and we moved that over there, and we took something that was in the beginning and moved it to the end. Okay. And it was very interesting, but it was a good lift.
All right, well, what a brilliant movie that was, wasn't it? Yeah. Just so good.
105. Yeah.
Have you been back to Scotland since?
I beg your pardon?
Have you been back to Scotland since?
I don't believe I have.
Oh, you have to change that.
Oh, yeah. No, I'd like to. I went there when I was a kid. I really loved it.
Yeah. Okay, so after Braveheart, we had a lot of other films. We had Ransom, we had What Women Want. Then we had The Patriot, which was the highest salary, according to the internet, that you'd had so far, a rumoured 25 million.
Yeah, rumored, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Signs with Joaquin Phoenix as well. And then this is an M. Night Shyamalan, is that how we say it? You now are no longer directing in these films here. You're taking a little step back. Mm-hmm. Is that quite nice that you get to go to the Winnebago and you get to go and play golf? Or are you going, you're not going to do that shot, are you?
No, it's not like that.
Is it not?
No, it really isn't. Like, I've worked with M. Night, he's a force on his own. I wouldn't presume to interfere with his vision. I'm just trying to help him enhance it. So I'm generally a good soldier, even if I don't agree with something. And that goes, you know, and I work with Jodie Foster, of course, and she was amazing, you know. And sometimes, this is really weird, I'd kind of in my mind, I'd question her thing, and I'd even question her. I'd say, you think, is that right? You really want that? And she'd be, yeah. And you go, okay, I'll just be a good soldier and I'll do whatever you want because I love her, you know. And but when I watched the finished product, I had to say she was absolutely right, you know. So there's nothing to say I'm right and they're wrong, or you know. So sometimes I get a good instinct on stuff.
Yeah. Can I ask you, of all the films you've made, this is a two-part question. Which of the films are you most proud to have acted in, and which one are you most proud to have directed?
Oh boy. I don't. Well, I don't know. That's a tough question. They're like children, you know. So you can't really pick one as far as acting goes. Hamlet was okay. It was hard. Hamlet was hard, man. Oh, it was. Can you imagine? Can you imagine doing a soliloquy, a Shakespeare soliloquy, and you do the last third of it first, and then 1 month later you do the first 2/3 of the same soliloquy? that's how that was shot.
Oh,
It was
wow.
like, it was really tough.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it was, I don't know, I can't remember. That was a beauty.
How about then the ones you've directed? Have you got a
Yeah.
favourite out of those?
I do. I think, yeah, I think that's good. Apocalypto, I was really proud of because I think it was pure, and it was just, that and like The Passion, they're almost like silent films because you're not depending on the vernacular. You're not depending on the language, and you kind of go to subtitles, which is
I
kind
know.
of
Well,
interesting.
this is okay. So this is the thing. So you already said how it can be quite stressful being the director, being the boss on set, and then you go, do you know, let's make it harder. Let's not have it in English. Let's do it in Mayan for like Apocalypto. Now, how easy? Well, let's put it this way. What's the most challenging thing about doing a film in a foreign language? Because I mean, how do you know, for instance, that they are saying what you want them to say?
I just trust it because it doesn't sound like English, and who the hell would know anyway? But the other thing about it is it doesn't bother me at all, and it's almost like you're hearing it in English. It really is, and so it's like because you wrote it or wrote it with someone, so you know what the script is. I mean, I wrote Apocalypto in English, but it was only spoken in Mayan, and none of those guys. Some of them knew how to speak it. There were like 3 Mayan speakers in the whole film. And one was that little spooky little girl. And she'd never spoken English or Spanish or anything. And she came from the jungle. She'd never seen ice cream or rice. And when we brought her into the town, it was sad. She kind of had an anxiety attack because there was traffic. And it wasn't a big town. And she asked us, why would someone put a house on top of another house? Like more than 1-story buildings. And because she knew her brothers and sisters and her family in a village, you know.
So after the movie, how have they dealt with life after that?
Who, those folks? Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
She was great. She was amazingly really smart kid. Her name was Isidra, and she didn't want to do it. She was 7, and she said, no, I don't think I want to do it. And I really wanted the kid to do it because she was great. And so I figured it out. Certainly, she's a woman like every other, you know. So I got this other little girl in, and I put her up there and got her started, and the other one pushed her out of the way. And said, so
Don't
it
know
worked
what you're
like a
talking
charm.
about. Amazing.
She said she wasn't going to be outdone.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing you did, the other film in another language, obviously you mentioned The Passion of the Christ. I mean, if you're going to choose a film also not in English, but then you're going to choose a subject matter that everyone is very strongly opinionated on as well.
Yeah.
That was a brave move too.
Yeah, well, it's like I just followed the book, basically. I mean, it was said that I didn't, that I made it up. I mean, I didn't. I mean, I read the book, and it was in there like that. So I just kind of did what was straight ahead. I mean, I enhanced it with my own imagery and meaning and, you know, tone and so forth. But and made it as real as I could.
Yeah.
But I think the power of that film was that it was in another language. Because somebody asked me a question earlier about when did you want to be a director? When I was 17, I wanted to be a director, but I didn't really quite understand how. I was in high school and I was studying the English language and I was looking at where it came from, and there was some kind of low guttural German or Old Norse or something, and I thought, that's really cool. Imagine Vikings coming up to your shore to chop up your town and take all your stuff and kidnap your wife, and which that sounded like a good idea, but it was like, I said, what happens if he speaks English? You don't believe me, and he's not frightening, but if he speaks some low Germanic tongue, all of a sudden he's really scary to me if I don't understand him. So that was where I first got into the whole notion of the power of the reality, and to actually, the power of The Passion is that you actually get the written word on the bottom of the screen at the same time as you're hearing something you don't understand, and your brain has to work a little harder to put the whole thing together in a story that you're probably pretty familiar with. Most people are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in every book in every hotel room, or it used to be anyway. So.
It did phenomenally well, Passion of the Christ. I mean, was it highest rated, highest grossing R-rated film of all
Ever,
time.
yeah.
Amazing. All made through your company as well, Icon.
Yeah, I think it was for a long time, for almost like, wow, for like 15 years or something. And then that thing with that Ryan Reynolds thing with the superhero. What's that thing? The Deadpool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that finally beat it.
Oh, did it?
I think that finally beat the R-rated record, yeah.
There was a little hiatus in your career, a little 10-year break.
Yeah.
Very well documented. We don't need to go into details on that, quite honestly. But
Self-inflicted wound.
I'm sure you reflected in that time on what had happened. But I want to know, and during that time, how much did you miss making movies?
I did, and it never stopped me from writing them. So I have a pile of scripts up to the moon, and stories that I want to tell that I haven't had the opportunity to tell yet, but I will.
So why was it you chose? Because, Hacksaw Ridge, can we just...
Oh, yeah.
Hacksaw Ridge, absolutely phenomenal. Great story, great cast, amazingly shot, Best
Garfield.
Director nomination. Why did you decide that was going to be your comeback movie?
It was interesting. The notion captured me. I mean, it was this incredible story. I mean, I really admired the man. I think, wow, who goes into a situation like that without a weapon and he's fearless? And why is he fearless? Yeah. I mean, he's operating on a higher level to what I do. And I look at that person, I think, man, that is some balls. Because Medal of Honor guys, people who are awarded that medal, they usually do something in an instant that's like, insanely brave. And it just happens all of a sudden. This man kept doing that stuff over and over and over again. And not just there, also in the Philippines. And everybody already knew about this guy by the time he hit Okinawa. He was already like, this guy's just fearless. He'll crawl out and get anybody under fire.
Yeah.
So.
It was so good. It was a really good film. It came out 2016. Did you feel that was a good time? You were ready to come back?
Oh yeah, it was good. And it was edifying to see that it get recognized to a degree. And it's better not to win the statue.
Oh, is it?
It is. It's actually better not to win it.
Oh, really?
There's a curse attached.
They say that about X Factor as well.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, it's good. You came back with a proper bang. You got that nomination. Best not to win, you said, I guess.
Yeah.
Did you feel that everything was going to be good and it was all going to be coming back? And because you have been busy ever since, busy.
Yeah, I keep my hand in.
Yeah.
And I have a 4-year-old now. I don't know what
How
I'm
many
thinking.
children do you have, Mel?
I have 9. There's a lot of children.
How are the age ranges? So you got 4 up to
41.
41. And how many of them act now?
There's probably about 1, 2. There's one of them. One of them has done a number of times. A young man called Milo, and he gets out there and does his little thing now and then. But there's another couple there's one who directs, and then there's another one who acts. He's going to, I think. So,
right.
They're all they all have other jobs and stuff, which is good. We raise them that way. I mean, the other guy, he flies helicopters. He's a welder. He makes furniture. He knows how to kill you with Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and he's got all these skills. And the other, they've all got great jobs. One of them's a cameraman, a steady cam.
Right.
And
does he get a gig on your movies?
yes, a couple. Yeah, he was on Hacksaw.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, that cool shot where the guy comes flying at the camera on fire. That's my son. He's like, not the guy the guy on the camera is
The guy
my son. I didn't light my son on fire, but I wanted to.
When Hacksaw Ridge came out and Bloodfather the same year, that's a good film too. When they came out, you started doing interviews, started doing press interviews, and then you said, we're going to be bringing out The Resurrection, right? Yep. Now, that was 2016. Is it coming soon?
Yeah, sooner now, because what I had to, it is such a massive undertaking that you can't do it lightly and you can't do it quickly. You have to really consider what it is that you need to show in order to be poignant. It can't be linear. You have to have many things to juxtapose against one another, even from different time periods, in order to illustrate what something means in a more full way. And I think it's going to be a real jigsaw puzzle to do. And I have 2 scripts.
Right.
And one of them is very structured and a very strong script and kind of more what you'd expect. And the other is like an acid trip. And because you're going into other realms and stuff.
Okay.
I mean, you're in hell. You're in, it's like,
Is,
you're watching the angels fall.
Oh, wow.
It's like crazy.
Is
it's crazy.
Jim going to come back as Jesus?
Yeah, of course. Nobody else.
But, and he's 17 years older. Does he? How does that work?
I don't know. It's going to be a Rip Van Winkle kind of thing, 3 days later, look, he's got wrinkles. You can fix that stuff now.
Yeah, I know, magic of makeup.
It's good.
I know.
Yeah.
I've got
you're
loads
youthful.
of foundation
You're
on
youthful.
Here. There we go.
I haven't actually done it to myself. But.
Can you tell us, please, this is exciting, about the new John Wick spin-off, The Continental?
Oh, yeah. Yes. It's a 3 films. It's like a prequel thing. And it's set at that hotel where they're not allowed to whack each other, I guess. And so, I guess I'm the proprietor of the hotel, But in my case, because I'm so old, they're going to call it the Incontinental. So it's like...
Have you started practicing martial arts and high kicks?
Oh, yeah. No, I did that years ago. I am too old for that shit,
Okay.
yes. Yeah.
When will you be filming that?
I'm going to Hungary tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay. And when will we see it?
Goulash, yeah, right.
I guess some goulash. When will we see it?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I mean, that's up to the powers that, I don't know, Lionsgate, I think, are doing. So it's for television.
Right.
So it's like 3 90-minute features.
I have got so many more questions. I want to know now a movie that you wish you'd starred in.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, some of the ones I turned down, like I would have loved to have done Rain Man, for instance, But when I saw it, I was like, wow, it's pretty good. But he did a great job. I mean, he got accolades for it. So I don't know that I would have done it better, but it would have been cool to have a crack at something like that.
Yeah. Which film would you have liked to direct?
No. I actually got a script one time. It was and Matt Damon and Ben Affleck came to me with a script that they had. And it was, and they gave it to me. He said, "Would you direct us in this?" And I wish I had, because it was, and I almost did, but I just got real busy with something else, and I didn't do it. Then somebody else did it. But and then because I had a part for myself in it and stuff, but it ended up being really great. And it was this film called Good Will Hunting, and it was like, and it was, and they just kind of threw it in my lap, and I was like, yeah, it's great. And I can play that part, but Robin Williams ended up doing it, which was great, He was fantastic. Poor Robin.
There were a few Oscars attached to that film as well.
Amazing, But I sort of saw that, and I was like, man, that's kind of cool. And these kids, their energy was raw. And Robin was so good in that. I thought it was great. But I think Gus Van Sant did it. I think that's who directed it.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He did do it in the end.
Yeah.
And when you look back at all the different genres of films you've done, so we've done, you've done action, you've done really amazing war films, you've done comedy, you've done animation. I mean, we could go on. What's your favorite type of film that you've done?
They're all the same to me. They really are. They're different. I mean, comedy is very difficult. Doing the what women thing was but it yeah, well, yeah. And well, that was written and directed by Nancy, and she was like, she got onto some level that I didn't even understand, which was kind of good in a way, because I wasn't meant to understand it, But oh, thank you.
You really liked that film, didn't you? Okay, let's talk co-stars now. Favorite co-star?
Oh, Renee is great.
She's been in a few films with you.
Huh?
Renee's been in a couple, certainly, with you, hasn't she?
She's great. She's like, when I met her, she was like, wow. She was so humble, And In fact, on one of the shoots, we were shooting in the streets of New York, and of course they put these little kind of Winnebagos on the sidewalk, and you kind of live in there in between shots while you're doing shots. And I went in there one day, and she was making omelets for homeless people in her trailer. And I was like, wow, you're amazing. It was like she was doing that, so it was really cool. I said, and I told her, one of these guys could kill you. It's like, I mean, I was just like warning her. I said, you can't do that. You got to be careful,
That's Renee Russo. That was
That's who she
Ransom
is, yeah.
and Lethal Weapon you did with her, didn't you?
Yeah, a bunch of those, yeah.
Any other leading ladies that have been great to act alongside?
All of them. Yeah, I haven't had any bad experiences.
Yeah.
They've all been wonderful, and we've remained friends, over the years, which is nice,
Yeah.
And that's because we didn't date. If you ever dated any of them, you wouldn't be friends,
Doesn't quite work.
I actually did date one, and it was for a short time, and we're still friends, so that's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have you ever lived in Los Angeles? I know that you've lived on the other coast as well, but what's it like to be in the middle of Los Angeles, and how do you feel about it?
Yeah, Los Angeles used to be a kind of a hub for filmmaking and that industry. It's not now. You don't need to be there.
Yeah.
So it's a nice place. The weather's great. The taxes are terrible. And a lot of people are moving now for tax reasons and all sorts of reasons now. They're sort of like, there's this mass exodus out of LA, and they're moving to, Montana, Wyoming. They're moving to all the red states, because it's getting scary for them.
We've talked about the Continental. Can you tell us, and the Passion, can you tell us about some of the other projects you've got coming up? Because if you look on IMDb, it's just like pre-production. I mean, you've got a ton of films.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. And as I told you, I got like so many things that I've worked on and written that could go. The problem is time management, and you can't do them all at once, and the energy it would take to be like, I'll be 100 years old by the time, you finish just what you have, which I won't make it. Although my dad did live to be 102.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Amazing.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Oh, well
That's
then.
pretty good. 102. That's because he was into organic gardening and vegetables and stuff from a very early place.
Are you that kind of person? Are you a vegan, soy milk,
No.
all that?
No, I don't
No?
do that, no. No, he used to eat critters, He'd eat meat and stuff, I like that stuff. I think, O positive, I go for that blood type stuff. You're not O positive.
Oh, really?
No.
You can tell.
What are you, A?
Pardon?
Blood type.
I have no idea.
You don't know?
I don't know if we necessarily all know it as much over here. It's like a thing. I don't think, and you go into a hospital in the UK and they go, what's your blood type? And you're like, I don't know.
You don't know?
No?
It's pretty
I'm
important.
one of the normal ones, but I think they all are, aren't they?
Yeah, they're all normal.
Yeah.
Well, there's a few abnormal ones.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. You turn 66, that's right, on the 3rd of January?
No, I turned 65. Oh, I will turn 66.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You turn
that's it.
66 on the 3rd of January next year.
Right.
So I was going to ask, what do the next 10 years have? I mean, do you see yourself like Clint Eastwood directing in your 90s, or will you be back on that Australian cattle ranch with your feet up, having a lovely time?
No, I think you got to keep busy. And I think, I've seen so many people that I know, they sort of, get to the end of their job and then they sort of deteriorate quickly. So I think you have to stay busy and keep your mind active. And my dad was really good at that. He finished his job early because he got injured, but he never stopped working. He did something else, He moved on to something. Maybe I'll move on to something else. But I do love filmmaking. That's the most fun you can have standing up.
Is there anything, any kind of film or anything that you would like to do? Treading the boards in the West End, is there anything like that?
Oh, yeah. I haven't been on stage since I was 28, because that's where I started. It was like a lot of stage stuff. I used to tour with Shakespeare's and do all that kind of caper, but it's been a long time now. But it'd be nice to get back there. I'd have to get my lungs right again.
Yeah. That'd be good. It'd be great to see you.
Yeah, it's very healthy.
Yeah. Would you go? Would you buy a ticket to go? Yeah, I'd
Maybe.
go. Mel, it has been a delight to talk to you.
Well, thank you. That was quick. Yeah.
I know.
Painless.
He's good, isn't he?
Bah.
Good chat. Okay, so it's not over yet.
Not over?
This is where
Okay.
the really tough questions come in now. These are questions from the audience. Now, we have some microphones wandering, so I'm going to have to shout the table number wherever you are. We're going to go first
Bingo.
to table number 68. We're going to Bernadette. Bernadette, where are you? I don't know where number 68 is. 65? Over
she is.
here?
I see
Okay.
her.
So, Bernadette, do you want to say your question?
Hello.
Hello.
Of all the films which you have been in, which is the most personal to you and why?
Okay. Well, that's pretty easy because, like, I got raised in a very religious family, and it was like, my dad, mom, dad, they were, Irish, Catholic, very devout people. So we learned about Catholicism and Christ and the Christian religion from a very early time. So that was a pretty personal experience for me to portray that last 12 hours in a real way, in a way that sort of would affect me and hopefully others. Yeah.
Thank you. That answered your question. Okay, table 28 we're going to next. We're going to Samantha on table 20. Here we go.
28.
Very much. Good evening, Mr. Gibson.
Hello.
Of all the decisions you have made during your life to get you where you are today, which decision was the one that has impacted your life the most and why?
Oh, wow. Whoa. Of all the decisions, wow. Well, I think basically it was, I had an older sister who, you see, there's this thing about people. Sometimes they look at you and, you can be a really messed up person. You can have so many flaws. You can be, hopelessly alcoholic, as I am. Or a number of things. Yeah, oh yeah, there's a bunch of us, We're all drunks. So, in one way or another. And I still do the dry drunk thing. But the thing that separates someone from really being a winner or a loser, I think, is being able to take direction or being teachable, So I actually, at one point, overcame pride, I guess, and listened to an older sister of mine. She was about 10 years older than me. And she really kind of got in my ear about stuff. And I thought she was crazy when she said it. But she kept on about it because she saw something I didn't. And then she very carefully guided me to it. And it kind of just changed where I went in life. Now, sometimes I wish I had done something else, Like maybe I should have just been a chef. That's creative. And that would have been fine. In fact, I do like to cook even to this day. I love it. But it was just listening to her, I think, and just taking some advice. And she believed even if I didn't. It was pretty interesting that I just went on blind faith there with her. But she was very kind.
I missed that.
What's that?
I don't know. What did you say? Okay. I don't know.
hear it.
I don't know. It wasn't.
What did he say?
Thank you very much for your question. I hope that answered it there.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay,
I don't know.
right, look.
It's like,
Let's go to table number 65 next. We're going to come to Julie McDonald. Julie, where are you? Oh, we're here.
Hello, Mel.
Hello.
Julie, I'm here. Can you see me?
wave. Oh, there. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Absolute pleasure to meet you.
Yeah.
Takes me right back to my teenage years, like most of the girls in the room here. What advice would you give to your 20-year-old self?
My 20-year-old self. Oh, my goodness.
This is just before Mad Max then.
Yeah. It'd be like, don't pick a fight with a rugby team. And you can't win. And don't drink so much. My mother told me that too. She said, don't drink, son, it'll ruin your life. And I was like, what does she mean by that? When you're 20, you don't understand these things. So, you know, I think I just would have been more patient, you know, not rush into things. I'm really impulsive. I was so impulsive. That's a blessing in some ways, but a curse in many others. And you know, you don't measure your words before you talk, and you know, it just comes out stupid, you know. And so it's you know, I would tell myself to like slow down, exercise patience, exercise the virtues, you know, because I wasn't doing a very good job of it at the age of 20. And I think that would have saved me a lot of hardship. Thank you.
On the drinking front, Hollywood and acting has always traditionally been a kind of an environment where people would go out and party a little bit hard.
Yeah.
Do you think that Hollywood's or actors on the whole have cleaned up their act nowadays? Does it feel a healthier place and a healthier environment?
I don't know. I think it's just gone more underground. But
Okay.
it's always been a pretty crazy place for that.
Yeah.
But it's always been kind of underground, I think. You know, you mean with all the Me Too stuff and
everything.
or everything, yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
crazy.
table number 48 next. We're going to Gillian. Where's Gillian? Oh, you're right there.
Hi, Mel. It's really awesome to speak to you. What was the most intense preparation for a film you've been in?
Wow. Intense preparation. Well, they all require some less than others. Some you just wing it. Others, I think I really got into like looking at the texts on Shakespeare a lot. Although I have to say, when we did the Hamlet film with Franco, it was, I never actually did the role because we did it all backwards and upside down and front to back. So I don't know what it's like to actually do it. It's really weird. Like to do the first part last and the last part first, then on any given day you just do 2 pages. So it's all out of order and a little piece at a time. So I actually, even though I knew the story and prepared a lot with a voice coach and everything else, I never actually did it. What a strange feeling. And then when somebody slices it all together, that's what it is. I wanted to direct it actually with Robert Downey when he was about 30. And he was too fucked up to do it. But he would have been so good. That guy would have been so good as Hamlet, you know. He would have killed it because his brain is something special. And I don't know how he did that. Because, I mean, his mind is like really, it's a finely tuned mechanism. And I don't know how he kept it that way. I think I lived less hard than he did, and my mind's all messed up.
Thank you for that, Gillian. Yeah. Talking about preparing for movies, so many actors spend hours in the gym pumping iron for roles. Which roles have you had to really get in shape for?
Oh, God. I think, well, you mentioned Bloodfather. I was starting to get a little, like, you know. I was eating too many bagels and too much spaghetti, you know. So I just had to get myself by the neck and sort of lift some weights and try and exercise some restraint, be a little more abstemious in my diet. But generally, I try and stay in shape as much as I can. It's an uphill battle, man. It gets harder every year, you know.
Do you enjoy that? Are you a gym junkie?
I'm sorry. No, I don't. No? I don't like the gym, but I do it sometimes. And it's this suit, for instance. Some guy made it for me in the middle of a film, and now it doesn't fit me.
Is it?
It's just a little tight, you know. So, you know, I behave myself when I know I'm going to be in front of a camera. Not this camera, but, you know. It's
Okay, Louisa Kingwell, you're on table 44. Over here.
Hi. Do you have a wonderful or humorous memory from your career which you can share?
Oh my God, so many. Where do I start? Oh my goodness. Wow. You know, I've played some heinous practical jokes on people that I can't mention because I will be burned at the stake. And I'm not kidding. There's some nasty stuff. But that's always the funny stuff, you know? Yeah, I could tell you a nice story.
Are you the prankster director that will really stitch someone up and get them worried?
No, not too. I'm kind of soft-hearted. I can't go too far with it, but I did string a guy out for 3 months one time. It was cruel. And he got even, and I deserved it. But yeah. No, I can't. No, listen, honestly, I would never work again if I, nope. No, yeah. It'll be all a little secret.
No. Well, we tried. We tried to get you an answer to that one.
I mean, there's so much I can't remember. I'm just like, 3 days without sleep. You kind of your mind is like, I should have thought about this.
When you're on set and you're working with someone, who's the one that you have the most laughs with? That's the hardest to kind of get through the scene because there's too much laughter.
Oh yeah. Well, that was fun, And Donner, of course, the three of us used to it was so much fun making a film with Donner. That's, but. And you used to have the luxury of cutting up a little more.
Yeah.
When budgets were bigger and time was a luxury. But they don't have that now. So if you goof off now, it's on you, and they leave it like that. You know? But I used to do these things with people where I used to make them do red nose takes, And everybody'd have a red nose, and they'd put it on at an appropriate moment. Like in a really serious moment, somebody would turn around and they'd have a clown nose on. And the idea was that you had to do the scene completely straight with the clown nose on. And it was hilarious. I even did it once in Apocalypto. I had we had that jaguar in a tree, and the guy's hiding in a tree, and he looks around and there's a baby jaguar, and it's like, meow, like that, and he's like, oh. And all of a sudden he hears a big roar, and he turns around, and there's Mama on the other side of him, and he's like the meat and the sandwich kind of thing. So he's reacting scared. But on one of the takes, we're over the head of the jaguar, which, for safety reasons, was a puppet, okay? So the over-the-shoulder on the jaguar was just a puppet. And then Rudy turns around looking really scared, and he's got the red nose on when he looks at the jaguar, right? And then the funniest part of this was that the guy with the puppet turned around at the camera and started laughing. The jaguar was like an outtake, and it was so funny. So, I mean, that's not that funny, but I thought it cracked me up.
No,
when
I like that. I want to know which scene Braveheart and which scene William Wallace wore a red nose now.
No, but this is it. I cut the film, and we got the Wallace clan out of Glasgow, Shearis Wallace and all his guys, and all these guys were the genuine article. I mean, these guys, they dress like traditionally. They don't shave. I mean, it's like they look like the burliest dudes, and they're all in the film. You've seen those faces. I mean, they're like, wow, they're scary guys, and they can fight. And so we used to do that kind of stuff. I cut the film together on something. You do it on a small screen called a Lightworks, and so you don't see the images as clearly as you should, like on a big screen. So you edit the film, and then we took the film out to screen it. And we showed it to a big audience. And then, right there, on the huge screen, every one of the Wallace clan has got a red nose on, and they're running up the hill in the film. And it's like, the audience is like, what the fuck? They've all got clown noses on. And I didn't see it, so they really did get me. But I remember when David Tomlin first saw the Wallace clan in the valley in Ben Nevis, exercising, because they were very disciplined, like special forces guys. They were like exercise, and they were trained in weaponry and stuff like that. And his comment was, the crime rate in Glasgow just went down. I don't think they were that bad.
I've got time for another question. Diane's on table 70. Where is Diane? Oh, way over here.
Hi.
Hello.
I'd just like to know, out of all your movies, from romantic action, which would you prefer and why?
Yeah. I like the big epic ones, that I figure, well, you can do it in any genre, really, but I got this kind of rule about you know, if you're going to participate or direct or even be in something, to make it work. I call it the 3 E's. And the first thing you have to do, and you must do at some level, even if it's hard, you know, material, hard subject matter, you have to entertain in some fashion and keep people in their chairs. So you have to entertain. And if that's all you do, that's fine. If you just, it can be a silly piece of nothing, but if it's entertaining, if that's all you do, it's perfectly valid and it's good art. But if you can entertain and educate at the same time, that's yet better, you know? And that's great too, also valid. But if you can entertain and educate and then elevate to another level, and you know, that talks to who we are on the inside, to our souls, to what we aspire to, then you got the trifecta. And if you can do all those 3 things, I think you really got a winner, and people will respond, because they respond to truth, and they'll respond to their inner selves and who they are and who they aspire to be. So that's why those epics work for me, because because, you know, that's why something like Hacksaw works for me, because that guy was like, could you do that? I couldn't, but he did. And that tells me that as a human being, maybe somewhere in the right circumstances, I might be capable of that kind of act of love and heroism and stuff. So I don't know, I just like those big epics, like Braveheart, you know, I just like the idea of someone giving his life and you know, for a belief and stuff. It's great. Or, you know, of course, the Passion story, which is like the ultimate, you know, sacrifice, you know? So.
Story, great story. We have one more question from, and one left, and this is from Mateo's on table 6. Where?
Table 6.
Where, down here. Okay.
Who was your idol or inspiration?
Right. Wow. I grew up in the 60s watching black and white movies on television. And so, you know, all those treasures were there for me to see, from all the old directors from the 30s and 40s, even 20s, but like, you know, in the speaking era of black and white movies, the guys like William Wyler and Billy, huh? Yeah, and I don't know what's he, and Billy Wilder, and just these amazing directors and actors, the people from that period. I mean, it was kind of immaculate. It was like, you know, the Gary Coopers and the Spencer Tracys and all those people. I love that stuff, but it was really during the 70s that I really kind of got really switched on by film and the power of it and the capability of it in the hands of guys like Sidney Lumet and Francis Ford Coppola and you know, man, I went to see Apocalypse Now like 5 times. And the Godfather movies, I mean, really, I mean, there's still nothing better than the Godfather movies, really. They're just amazing. And you know, I was just influenced and greatly admired all those men, directors and actors in them, you know. I know Al's been here doing his thing. He's done, I know Al Pacino comes, man, I loved Al. He was my hero, you know. I've never actually met the guy, but I will one day.
You haven't met Al Pacino?
Nah.
I thought you all met and hung out in circles.
You what?
I thought you all like hung out together. All you amazing actors.
Nah. I've hung out with some people.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not Al.
Not Al yet.
No, not yet.
Not yet. I hope that's answered your question. Listen, what a brilliant guest you have been.
Oh, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Mr. Mel Gibson.
Thanks so much.